Hi guys, this presentation is going to be on performance skills and performance patterns. I have elected to divide this presentation into two different Google Docs or two different PowerPoint presentations. So you will see under this module that there is one listed 6 and then there's one listed 6A. That's why I didn't want to make it too long, and I wanted to make sure you had enough time to absorb the information here. Okay, let's get started. First of all, we're going to talk about performance skills. So when we talk about performance skills, these are really what we consider observable elements of action, and they serve a function and a purpose that can be measured by an OT when clients or people are engaged in them. They're goal-directed actions. They're observable in small units of engagement in daily life occupations or activities. The nice thing about performance skills is these are skills that we actually learn and continue to develop over time. We can master them and then we can start new ones. We can improve our ability to engage in these motor tasks, and we can also, for our clients, we can modify them and make changes so that they can be independent, or it can improve their occupational performance. Performance skills are situated within context and within environments, and we're going to be talking about that when we get to the presentation 6A. So performance skills, as I just mentioned, they are observable elements of action that have a specific function. Skills are considered classifications of actions, and they encompass multiple capacities and underline the ability for us to engage and participate in any occupation that we desire to do or in any activity. There's 3 classifications of motor or performance skills. These are motor skills, process skills, and social interaction skills. We're going to talk about each one of these a little bit more in detail. So when we talk about motor skills, I'd like you to refer to pages S25 and S27, also table 3, in the OT practice framework. It'll be helpful to have this available to you as we're going through the presentation, because I'm going to be asking you specific questions and stopping the presentation, and having that information right in front of you will certainly be helpful. So if you don't have it, please grab it. Motor skills are performance skills that are observed when a person interacts and moves task objects, and themselves around within that task environment, meaning that whatever they are engaged in. We're going to take a minute and look at this information. Okay, so as you see here, in the area of performance skills under motor skills, these are terms that you are likely pretty familiar with. You've probably engaged in them, not even thinking about it, but now we're putting a label or a term on there. When we look at motor skills, this is how we align our body or align our task that we're engaged in together. It looks at how we're positioning ourselves, reaching and bending. It looks at how we're coordinating ourselves, looks at how we're enduring and how we're walking, or what our gait is like. So as you can see, these are all tasks that you should be very familiar with. I'm going to stop this now, and what I'd like you to do is refer to table 3 and share with me 5 motor tasks, including the personal example of each that you have engaged in within an area of occupation. Social interaction skills. These are occupational performance skills that are observed during the ongoing stream of social engagement. These are things that we engage in all the time, and we're going to share this information again with you. I just want to open this up. So when we're looking at social interaction skills, you can see there's a variety of things that we do. We may not even think about all the specific details that go into social interactions, but there's quite a few. So think about all the people that you engage in during the day. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be a caregiver, it could be a child or a dog or a cat. But think about what types of social skills you actually engage in. Are you speaking fluently? Are you pacing what you're saying? What is your articulation? What is your body awareness and your facial expressions? These are all things that are included when we talk about social interaction skills. The next one is process skills. I'm sorry that they are a little bit out of order. Somehow my slide got moved when I was messing around with this, but generally, if you look in the OT Practice Framework book, it does go motor skills, process skills, and social interaction skills. But instead of restarting and re-recording, I'm just going to go with it. So I hope you guys are flexible with this. When we talk about process skills, these are occupational performance skills that have three different components that we look at. One, this is something that the person selects, interacts with, and uses as with their tools and materials. Number two, it's something that it's what an individual carries out in terms of actions and steps. And three, the modification can be done within the performance if problems occur. Think back about mental functions. Remember, we talked about praxis and how when a problem comes into play, a person has to be able to figure out through that mental function of how to do this. The process skill is now carrying that out. So this is the next step to that area of praxis. Just want to show you again on the OT Practice Framework. This is where we're talking about process skills. This is again pacing, it's inquiring, it's sequencing, it's translating, it's gathering information. So as you can see, we're going to go through this information, and again, just like I did for the motor skills and the social interaction skills, I'm going to have you share 5 process skills and personal examples that are specific to you. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about skills and functions. We talked about body functions in the last 2 presentations, and we talked about how this is strength, your range of motion, your problem solving ability. So it's looking at those components that are within our thought process, and also how we use our muscles, how we use the structure of our body, how we use our bones, how we use any internal organs in order to engage in an occupational task. Now, though, we're looking at how these body functions relate to an area of occupation. So let's look at the skill, and then we'll break it down and look at the body functions that support it. So the skill that we might be looking at is gripping and lifting a pot of coffee. That's our skill. The body functions that is directly related to are gripping and bicep strength. Does that make sense? So think about it, simulate it with your hand if you want to. Gripping and lifting a coffee pot. What muscle groups and what body structures are you using in order to make that task happen? You're using grip and bicep strength. Now, if you want to reach for a faucet to turn the water on, so go ahead and use your hand to reach out and turn the faucet on. What body functions are you enacting or initiating? That would be your shoulder range of motion. Could also be your elbow range of motion if you're extending or straightening out your arm. The next skill that I want to talk about is noticing the water rising in a pot and responding by turning the water off. That is under the area of mental functions, those global mental or specific mental functions. We're problem solving. We're like, hey, we have to shut the water off or it's going to run over. And you respond and you react to that. But the skill of that is actually noticing it and turning it off. So the skills are the actions that are you engage in within the occupation or activity. The body functions are all those components that are the body functions are those areas that you use to process the information that is going on and determining what part of your body as well as the thought process needs to engage within that activity. What I'd like you to do now is you're going to take a couple of minutes and I want you to share with me sorry, I lost myself. Okay, so I want you to share with me 3 examples that differentiate the difference between between skills and body functions. Okay, the next area is looking at performance patterns. So performance patterns are the habits, the routines, the roles, and rituals that we use in processing and engaging in occupations and activities. These patterns can either support or hinder our occupational performance. So think about, so this is table 4. This is on page S28 in your OT Practice Framework book. So please look at that and refer to that. So performance patterns can be classified as either a person or a population. Your book does a really nice job differentiating and explaining what these 2 components are. So please be sure to read that. I'm going to go through and talk about each of the habits, routines, roles, and rituals a little bit more in detail. So what are habits? Habits are referred to specific and automatic behaviors. These are things that you do without even thinking about it. What are some habits that you engage in? Routines. These are established sequences of occupations that provide structure to our life. So when we think about our day, think about all the things that you do throughout the day. Is it a routine? For example, I get up in the morning, I brush my teeth, I go to the bathroom, then I go out and I let my dog out. Then I sit and watch the news before I take a shower. This is a routine that I engage in. It can certainly change throughout the day, but it helps organize my day by keeping that routine. It provides that structure in my daily life. What are some routines that you engage in during the day? Let's think about roles. Roles are sets of behavior that are specific to you. They're expected, they're expected by a society, and they can also be shaped by culture and by context. So think about the roles that you engage in. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a faculty member, I'm an occupational therapist. So these are all the roles that I engage in throughout the day. They're expected by society, they're expected by the culture that I live in, and also within the context. I am a professor when I'm at Kew College. I'm an occupational therapist when I'm at the Developmental Evaluation Center. So you can see how the context can change it, although my title is still the same as an occupational therapist. The last one is rituals. These are symbolic actions of spiritual, culture, or social meaning. When you're thinking, I think in the United States, rituals to us don't seem very strong as they possibly do in other countries or people of a different ethnicity. But one of the things that I can think of is in a ritual is marriage. Okay, there's a variety of ways that people get married, but this is certainly a ritualistic action that people engage in. They may do it in a church, they may do it outside in a park, they may do it in Las Vegas, they may do it at the Justice Center. It doesn't really matter, but the symbolic action is that they're joining 2 people together. So that's one example I can think about when I think of rituals. I want you to also think of rituals that you engage in. You can also have routines, rituals, and roles within a population. And for this slide, I'm going to have you just look at the OT Practice Framework book and look at the examples for each of these. Now at this time, though, I would like you to share with me a habit, a routine, a role, and a ritual that is personal to you or something that you have observed or seen. And the last slide in this presentation is really talking about OT practitioners. OT practitioners view human performance as a transactive relationship amongst their people, their occupations, their environment, and their context. Meaning that all of the things that we've talked about thus far, this is looking at areas of occupation, this is looking at client factors, this is looking at performance skills and performance patterns, and what we're going to be talking about in environments and contexts. It looks at OT, the profession of OT, view an individual as a transactive relationship on how they engage within their environment. They're not just engaging on their own. There's things that's happening in their environment, within their context, within their daily life that changes and alters how things go throughout the day. Otherwise, our life would be very boring. We don't want to have the same thing happen every single day the same way. I don't know if you've seen the movie Groundhog Day, but pretty much that's what that movie was about. It was the same thing happening every day. And Bill Murray, who was in the movie, tried to make subtle changes to try to make things happen differently. But hence, he would fall asleep and wake up and it would be the same thing the next day. So it would be pretty boring. But we know that in life, things change, things alter throughout our day. And if an individual has a physical, medical, or mental impairment that is going to impact their ability to engage in occupational performance, it's going to be impacted by what they do throughout the day. It's looking at all of those factors we've been talking about. That's it for this presentation. Stay tuned as we talk about context and environment. Thanks, guys.